Red Beard Podcast is brought to you by these cool dudes.
Hey everybody, what's up? This is Cooley from the Red Beard Podcast, and I'm chilling with...
You know who it is.
What?
What? You already know what it is.
What it is then, sucker?
And watch me whip. Nope. Oh, man. So what's going on, dude?
Well, who the fuck is it?
What do you mean? Everybody knows who it is.
Say it.
Tony.
All right.
Yeah.
Yo. Welcome. It's a good show today. We actually have a bunch of stuff we're going to be doing, but...
Yeah, we do, because it's Friday.
Because it's Friday. But one of the coolest things we're doing is we actually have an interview with Ramon Fernandez.
Hell yeah.
Who is the director and creator of the documentary Glory Days. That's D-A-Z-E, as in like I'm dazed and confused. Yeah. Glory Days, the life and times of Michael Allig.
Which is awesome. So you guys definitely need to check it out because it's an amazing documentary.
Yeah, and he did a fantastic job putting it together. It's actually not one of these like boring documentaries that you might see out there. It's very well done. It'll keep you interested the entire time. The way that he filmed it, the way that it was just the dialogue, or I don't really want to call it dialogue because that implies somebody wrote it, but just the conversations that he has with people and the way that he strings everything together, so it's almost like one continuous like paragraph almost. It's just fantastic. You got to check it out.
Yeah, people are kind of finishing each other's sentences, so it really is just like put together extremely well. So, but we're gonna throw that in at the end of the of this week's podcast because there is some stuff that we do want to jump into before that. And dude, I finally got around to finishing the entire Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So
what'd you think?
I thought it was excellent, man. As I knew it would be. Being a big fan of the 80s and 80s horror just in general, it just paid homage to so many films that I loved growing up. You've said this a couple times, and everybody said this basically, like close friends of mine. It brings homage to E.T., The Goonies, like stuff like that. Really great stuff. So it was just, I thought everybody just did a great job, and I love the way that it ended. It was very disturbing, actually, to me. But I mean, that just leaves it open for the second season of Stranger Things.
Like I love like the aha moment when you texted me. Was it yesterday or the day before when you were like, "Oh, now I know what you meant by Tony's in the Upside Down rescuing Will."
Yeah. The week that I couldn't be here in the podcast, that's what you said, and I was like, "What is he talking about?" And then they said that in one of the episodes, and I was like, "Oh, now I get it." So that's awesome. But yeah, man, it was just great, and I mentioned something to you today about this is I guess it was something that you had kind of thought of too, is that when they kind of are in the Upside Down and they're searching for Will. They're going through just this whole other dimension world that is just dark and confusing, and they're wearing these space kind of like suits, right? Yeah. And the main guy there, the cop, and you said his name, but thank you, you said Harper. They were actually walking past what it was like this orange yellowish egg that he kind of bent down to put his hand on. It looked like something had been like birthed from it, right?
Right.
And I just thought that was really cool because, with the suit that he's wearing and the fact that it was an egg, it just was very paying homage to like Alien, where they see that first egg before it opens and the facehugger pops out.
Right.
And I just love those little things that they throw out there. Also, I love the fact that there was that one scene when they're trying to get away from the bad guys and they're on the bikes, and she's sitting on the back, Eleven's sitting on the back, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be such an E.T. moment. And, she's not in the front in the basket, but something's going to happen. And the van comes and it just flips right over him. It was so great, man. It just made me feel like I was a little kid again watching these movies.
Yeah, when he like jumps off the cliff and she like gets him and brings him
back up. Yeah.
And then breaks that kid's arm. That was freaking awesome.
Yeah. And I really do like the way Matthew Modine went down, or we think he might have went down, because we don't know if he's definitely dead, but it looks like he kind of got some payback there.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I have a very hard time believing that he'll actually be dead, because that's just the way that the 80s worked. They make you think somebody's dead, but then he comes back and you're like, oh, yeah, well, we never actually saw him die.
I don't know who Matthew Modine is. Who is that?
He was the main guy with the white hair.
Oh, okay, the bad guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he was in movies such as Vision Quest. But
how could I ever forget that dude?
it was those movies are classic '80s, like the pump ups. I'm gonna get you like I'm gonna get psyched up like sports movies. It was basically like it's the movies that Hot Rod cracked on. You know what I mean, stuff like that. But great, it was good to see him in that movie. I'm glad that he's actually still working, getting. Just kind of, I think it's great that they pulled him out into this whole series because he's just such a big actor from the 80s, So
how about Winona Ryder?
Oh God, she knocked it out of the park,
dude. I went from what a girl, like a little girl, to being the mother.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's how old we are.
She looks fantastic for her age.
Oh, she does.
She does.
But the fact that you have to add for her age at the end of that sentence, I just feel super old, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I first heard that she was in this, I was excited to see her because I think she's an excellent actress. But this kind of just reinforced that because we haven't really seen her in anything big for a while.
Right.
I feel like this is kind of like her resurgence, that role that was going to put her back on the map. And what a perfect role because she's also paying homage, I think, to what she's most well known for, which is movies like Beetlejuice. So big hit from the 80s. So to see her in this movie, just kind of play a completely different character, something that we haven't seen before.
It's very meta.
It is, man.
Yeah.
Oh, but it was just excellent. Because I had watched the first episode before Becca did, and I just said, wait till you see Winona Ryder. She is killing it in this, and it was only the first episode. So there's really emotional moments in this over the course of the 8 episodes, and she really just like was better each episode. She killed it. She killed it. I can't say it enough.
Yeah, man, she was great. I love when she's like sitting there in the room and like her other son wakes up and finds out that she's in there, and she's just like, did you see that? Look, and he's like, yeah, Mom, it's a light. It's electricity.
Yeah, I saw it.
The hell? Come on, let's go get some sleep.
You know what I also like?
It was such a natural reaction, though. Like, I mean, because if he had any other reaction, like, oh my God, yeah, I saw the light flicker. Like
it would have been cheesy, yeah.
But he was just like, yeah, it's a light.
Yeah, it's
electricity.
It's gonna happen.
Isn't it strange? No, it's electricity, Mom.
It's running through the house all the time.
And she's like, no, it's Will. Show him, baby. Show him how you talk to me, baby.
Okay, anyway. I think the other thing that I really enjoyed about this, too, is that the fact that so many people enjoyed this, just being one of those, straight to Netflix series, I really like the fact that so many people enjoyed it, and it showed a younger generation why I think we like the 80s movies so much. And why they have such an impact. It's because, if you enjoyed this, that is exactly why. There were stories like this that were told in the 80s that kind of stand out from a lot of other films. You don't really see things like this now. And also, it really took out the whole social media aspect of life, right? Like these kids were running around without cell phones. They were running around without Facebook. They didn't have any of that stuff. If you wanted to call somebody, you had to. I remember she's at one point, one of the mother figures in this whole thing says, "When you get to someone's house, give me a call." Or it was, "When you see her, can you tell her to call me?" To make sure that she was okay. Like they didn't have a way to just call her on a cell phone.
Yeah,
and that's the way that it was. And I also like the fact that, like everybody's on their bikes. You know what I mean? They're outside. They're playing. It was just cool. It just brought me back to how I used to hang out with my friends and stuff like that. So I think that's why I personally connected to it. But it was just cool to kind of get a throwback, to get that social media and all that reality TV kind of out the window. So it was cool.
Yeah, man. One of the things that stood out to me too is, and I don't know if this jumped out at you at all, but you had the boyfriend there, the one that was like all pissed off because she was hanging out with Will's brother.
Right.
You had him, and he was like he was your typical like jock / dick,
Yep.
right? And he had more of a personality than I gave him credit for. Mm-hmm. You know, in the beginning, like I was just like, oh, that's who he is, because in the 80s, you know, your character was your character. You didn't really have like a, you know, anything where, you know, your character would actually grow or change.
Yeah, there weren't any layers. He was just
Right.
a dick the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I will give the Goonies credit for I forget his name, but the jock in that movie, you know, he
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh
Yeah.
Brolin. That's right.
Yeah.
He wasn't just, you know, your typical jock. He actually like cared about, you know, the nerds, right?
Well, he was also a brother to Mikey.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was a good brother. He wasn't like Chet
Yeah, yeah.
from Weird Science, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He wasn't just a complete dick.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't the bad kid from Karate Kid.
Right.
Johnny. Yeah.
who's just always evil.
Except for the very end. You're all right,
Yeah.
LaRusso.
Yeah. All of a sudden
Bullshit.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
I was misunderstood for 2 hours.
Yeah. This is my moment to change everything.
But yeah, this kid, like he's a dick, but then like when he sees how the graffiti is affecting his girlfriend, or at that time his ex-girlfriend, or whatever it was at that point, he had a change of heart, and he was like, I want to help clean this up. And he goes over. It was like one of those classic like Mormon commercials, like the, you know, who broke my window? You know what I'm talking about? You remember that shit? I broke your window with my ball, and I've come to confess. Like that shit.
Yeah.
That you saw like every 5 minutes during Saturday morning cartoons or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just reminded me of that, like where you had this kid who made a bad decision and he wasn't defined by that. He actually was able to grow and change throughout the rest of the series. And then he had that badass moment at the end where he came in and just like whacked that fucking monster with the bat.
Yeah. With the Negan bat.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah. And you just totally expected him to like, you know, just leave, but he came back in and he made up for all of his mistakes.
Yeah.
And he ends up with the girl.
Right.
And you feel like he deserved to end up with the girl.
Well, see, I don't know. Like that actually kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. So, like he ends up with Nancy at the end, but it was weird because that other kid, Jonathan, who is Will's brother, like they for the entire, I feel like, what is it, third episode or whatever, where they start connecting and she starts to understand like who Jonathan is and you know why he is the way he is, and she kind of saw that other side of him. And like there's even that scene in the police station where she says, oh, are you gonna go talk to your boyfriend? She's like, oh, she goes, he's not my boyfriend. And she goes, oh, well, does he know that? She's like, because somebody doesn't do that or look that way in your face in your eyes unless it's love. And so she goes back in and she like gives him the ice pack for his head, and you see them kind of connecting, and she knows that he's in love with her. And there are a lot of other things, like they're in the room together and she's holding hands. And I'm like, oh, well, she's going to see that this kid is somebody that she's probably going to be with. And then at the very end, she's like, oh, I got you a Christmas present. Merry Christmas. And then he drives off and then she sits on the couch with him. I was like, wait, what? Like, that just didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, I get that's who she was with at the beginning, but I feel like there's a lot of shit he did where it's kind of like,
Remember her boyfriend was her first.
Right.
And they had no physical contact other than a handhold and maybe some longing looking at each other or whatever.
Right.
Right. And so I feel like it's the classic, hey, you're my rebound. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as soon as this guy came back and was just like, he showed that he was worthy of, you know, a second chance, she was going to give him a second chance.
I see that point. I do. And I agree with that. But I also was, I guess my point is that I was just thrown for a loop for a second.
The only thing that threw me for a loop was that it was decidedly not 80s for a show that was all about being 80s.
Right.
Because if it was going to be 80s, it would have been the outcast or the geek or the nerd that ended up with the girl.
With the girl, which is why I thought it was going that way.
Right.
You know, like, because that's why I'm like in that kind of era, and I'm like, oh, well, this guy's going to get the girl, and then he didn't. I was like, wait, what? Like, but I mean, yeah, he definitely did kind of like, you know, do a little bit of a turnaround. I don't know. It's just interesting to know, like, he was just kind of creepy, though. You know, he's like following her to her house, like looking in the window. It's just like, all right, he's a little creepy, dude. But overall, I definitely think that Stranger Things was amazing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see where the second season of this goes. I don't even know I don't think it's even gotten picked up yet for a second season, but
it
I'm
has.
sure. Then obviously we know it's going to be awesome. The ending though was tagged in like another layer, you know, where it kind of had like that. He's in his bathroom and he coughs up that thing, and then it kind of glitches for a second, and he's back in the other dimension, and all of a sudden he flips back. I'm trying to figure out where that's going. You know, like maybe it's still a part of him because he was in there for a little bit too long.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. Really, really cool, man. One other thing I just want to throw out there, because we talked about kind of like that egg that they saw. Mm-hmm. I felt like when they found Will, it was very alien-like, how he's trapped like in that wall.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff, and they had to like rip him out of it, and they took that thing out of his mouth. It was kind of like a face hugger kind of deal.
Exactly.
So I thought it was really cool, man. I didn't know that thing was like a worm. That was gross as hell. I thought that was actually just like a tube or something.
Right.
But when it was like freaking out and he shot it on the ground, I was like, oh, that's gross, man.
And then like I don't know, like he was really weird about it. Like when he went back to the table, he was just like, no, I'm fine. But like I couldn't tell if he was
out of it.
No, if he was like scared to tell anybody what's going on, or if he was just kind of like part of that thing now. Like he, like in his mind, like he's just, you know, he's kind of down with the plan, you know, like of like spreading the infestation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for me it was kind of like I think that he was scared and didn't want to ruin that like Christmas dinner moment.
Right.
You know, but I feel like if I was in a position like that, I would have been like, yo, so you guys should know something because it was hard for you to find me last time. So I want to give you a heads up. What's going on? You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that might be the smart thing to do, but he's also a kid who's probably afraid.
Right.
You know, so.
But yeah, no, it was awesome, man. The next thing that you need to watch is The Get Down because that shit was fucking out of this world, man.
Yeah, I got to check it out, man. I haven't, you know, it's more of like having the time to do all of it, but The Get Down is definitely on my radar now because you've been talking about it for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my latest obsession. I've been listening to the soundtrack like over and over, and like it's weird because it's like only half a season. They didn't release the entire season at once, so like I don't know like what the thought process was behind that because I feel like it wasn't anything that needed to be rushed. Right, because I had no idea that it was going to be that great. Like, it wasn't even on my radar. It was like I had nothing else going on, so I was like, what the hell's The Get Down? And I watched it, and I was like, what?
How many episodes is it?
It's 6 episodes. It's basically 6.5 episodes because the first one is an hour and a half.
So are they all like an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's unbelievable, man. Jimmy Smits is awesome in it.
Nice.
It's filmed as like a memory of 1977. It's not really 1977, but it's like the main character's memory of what 1977 was, and it's awesome.
He's like reliving it.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's beautifully filmed. It's beginning to end, just a feel good kind of story. It's really cool. So yeah, that should be next. That should be next up, man. Out of like anything new that you're gonna watch, man, because it's like unless you got something else in line, but that's friggin' to me, it's the best thing out there.
Yeah. Did you hear about the whole Mary Jane Watson thing with Marvel that's going on right now?
Yeah, like that she's gonna be. Zendaya is going to be Mary Jane.
It's going to be Mary Jane. People are pissed because, you know, she's African American and she's going to have red hair. I mean, well, not that she's going to have red hair, but that it's an African American playing Mary Jane. But I honestly don't see the big deal with it, as usual. But I think, you know, if people are afraid of change, and the director, James Gunn actually gave people a kind of like basically put it on the table and was like, "This is the way it's going to be. If you guys have a problem with it, you shouldn't." And I think that it's not set in stone yet, but it's an idea that people are already pissed about.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not confirmed,
right?
But I mean, I think regardless, at the end of the day, whether it's Mary Jane Watson or Michelle, whatever, because like she was like they announced that she was going to play somebody named Michelle. I do believe that you bring Zendaya onto this film to play the romantic interest for the main character.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so I mean, people should be more pissed if she plays somebody named Michelle that is a love interest for Peter Parker in high school, which he never had a love interest named Michelle.
Yeah.
Rather than being pissed off that they changed the ethnicity of a main character. Now, Roberto is upset. Well, I don't even know if he's upset, but I think he's maybe thrown off or whatever because he feels like, Mary Jane was like the patron saint of gingers everywhere, right? Like she was like the person that gingers could relate to in comic books because she was like the ultimate ginger.
Right.
But you know what? Like, I feel like there can be other gingers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like me.
Yeah. Get you in a Marvel movie, man. Then people will be all like souped and happy. Like, holy shit, Tony Emerald III is going to be... I don't even know a fucking ginger super... Who's a ginger superhero?
Fucking no, man. Oh, God. I can't even think of anybody, to be honest with you. That's how cool it is.
Shade Seeker.
What a dick. Shade Seeker. It's so fucking true. Oh, dude, I am keeping that. That's hilarious. Shade Seeker. Yeah, that's literally the way it is. Anytime I'm outside, I'm like, yo, can we stand in the shade? not because I don't like the sunlight, because I don't like sunburn. So, oh man, honestly, you and I stand next to each other in the shade. You're gonna be fine for days. I'm gonna be fine for 5 minutes. Oh man, yeah, it is. It's tough. I don't think there's any people that I can think of that are like redheads. Like you can think of any. You're the comic book connoisseur. You can't think of anybody.
I can't. I think there are far fewer redheads than there are actually minority characters.
I will say this.
I think you have more Native American superheroes than you have redheads. And I think there's like only one.
And this isn't comic books, but when you said Native American heroes, I just thought of Nightwolf wins. Finish him.
It's funny because like that's pretty much the only character that you can really think of.
I know. I will say that as far as being a redhead, I'm excited that we're going to be able to meet this guy at New York Comic Con because everybody keeps telling me that I look like him, so I'm getting a picture with him, which is Alan Tudyk. So I am so getting a picture with that guy to be like, see, like I'll admit that, but that'll be a cool picture to get.
Yeah, I actually think you look like him a lot, man, and you could probably parlay maybe a role in a movie, like if he needs like a stand-in or a double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to suck that guy's dick. Get Tony.
Fuck that.
I'm just trying to think of things you would need a double for. What do you need doubles for nowadays?
You need a stand-in. A stand-in while he goes to like have a cigarette or something. I don't know. They need to get the lighting right. No, honestly, imagine that like stand-in dick sucker. And it's me. I'm like, yes. That's how I got my SAG card. So
spotlight time.
Yeah. Even though I already have my SAG card, it's just like I would want to fucking like that is not going to be my first stand-in. Oh my god. I think I'll pass. Anyway.
Oh shit.
No, I know. I definitely I've been getting that a lot that I look like him. So it's just funny that I'll actually be able to meet the guy. Let's just get a picture with him, post that. But so I mean, I can understand where Roberto's coming from too. I mean, I don't know, man. I kind of always that type of person where I can see both sides of the spectrum, where I don't really care if they change it. but I'll also play devil's advocate and say I understand why people get a little pissed. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, don't change that though. Like maybe keep it the same way. Like Mary Jane, like Roberto was saying, is kind of like, the redhead, for comic books is something for people to kind of align with. So I can see that too. But, I just feel like nowadays, man, there's always something for people to kind of get pissed about. Especially with there's so many superhero movies, you're tapping into things and doing films about things that people are extremely passionate about and characters that they've kind of connected to in more ways than one. So for you to change things can kind of be dramatic for people and something that people aren't ready for, but are kind of forced in a sense to accept because it's going to be on the big screen. So I feel like that is one of the reasons why there is so much pullback from audiences now about changes, because it affects so many people. But with that being said, movies are also going to have a lot of different changes because there is going to be a film adaptation of that story, of that comic book. So there need to be changes, and people have to start accepting that because it's nothing that you can really do anything about. Just go in and enjoy the film.
Just think about the positives here too. I mean, like you have an on-screen couple that is interracial.
Yeah.
Right? And by interracial, I mean one's black and one's white, because let's face it, there are so many interracial relationships out there.
Yeah,
like,
but we know what you mean.
Every relationship is
We
interracial.
know what you mean, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, one's German, one's French, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
if one's black and one's white, oh my God.
Yeah.
Stop the presses.
Exactly.
But here, you have an interracial couple in high school.
Right.
Right? So, like, they're at a young age. So, like, I mean, it's actually portraying that for a wide audience. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a positive, man. It can't be anything but a positive because now we're taking down that barrier, because you don't see that a lot in film.
Right.
Like in film, everything is, and I hate to use the term whitewashed, but it's a whitewashed world, right? Mm-hmm. You have a lot of, if usually it goes in the other direction, but now they're actually doing stuff to actually help promote unity.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's cool shit, man. In my book, and I implore anybody who's hating on that shit to at least give it a chance and let it ride and see what it's like, man. She might nail that shit and knock it out the park. I wasn't a big fan of the first Mary Jane. I can't remember her name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Snaggletooth chick. What's her name?
Kirsten Dunst?
Yes.
I liked her, man.
I wasn't a fan.
I thought she was perfect. I thought she was, dude.
It had nothing to do with the fact that she has a snaggletooth, because I think that's cute sometimes.
I think but I thought she was adorable in the first Spider-Man. I don't really remember, but I mean, she's in the lunchroom with a tray and slips, and he catches her. Like, that was awesome.
But that was him, not her. I mean,
no, but she was. What do you mean that was him? That was her.
He catches her. And
no, but he catches her, and you see her, and she's like smiling, and like I thought she was adorable. Has nothing to do with him catching her. I'm just saying she's
not a fan of dimples.
She's in the same scene. What the hell?
No, it has nothing to do with her dimples, man. You know what it is. I just didn't. I don't like her. Sometimes, like, I don't like the way that she seems a little. She seems like she's on drugs sometimes.
I don't understand
like
what
she has like a lazy eye sometimes, and like she.
What are you talking about?
She looks drowsy.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah,
dude.
Let's. Oh man, if we had time right now,
we don't
because we have to get to this interview. But if we had time right now, I would pull up like some clips from Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and you would see what I'm talking about. She has this laziness to her, and it's just like I want my Mary Jane with a little more energy. She's supposed to be like spunky.
I think that you need to take it down a notch. I think you're really like reaching for this. I really think you are.
All right.
I think she looks drunk. I don't like dimples. Like, holy shit.
Nah, the dimple thing was a joke, man.
You're searching for perfection.
The dimples thing was a joke. I love dimples. All right.
Yeah.
I think they're cute, but it's less about that.
That's a nice believable retraction.
It's less about the dimples, more about like the drunkenness look that she has.
Yeah, I know. She seemed drunk to me too. Yeah.
Whatever. Listen, so we've got Ramon Fernandez. We pre-recorded this interview, and we're gonna play it back for you right now. Guy is awesome, man. It was a fun interview, man. We had a lot of fun talking to him. He knows his shit.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we did. We're going to play it back right now. And did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. I mean, as an artist, it was really cool to kind of hear somebody who, and I'm not saying me as an artist, I'm saying like him as an artist. It's really cool to hear somebody kind of talk about, somebody who is an actor and also a director and see both sides of the spectrum. Because he just seems very well-rounded and is well-rounded. And I think that's why this film is as good as it is. So, so definitely a great interview. You guys are going to enjoy it.
Agreed, man. We'll check back with you after it's done.
Later.
Nice.
How's it going, man? Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you too.
I'm Tony.
I'm Cooley.
Right on, Cooley.
Yeah, man. So, listen, man, I watched the Glory Days documentary last night.
What did you think?
I thought it was great, man. I love the way that you put everything together, like as far as like just stringing everybody's commentary into like it's almost like listening to one conversation.
Right.
And I'm assuming that's what you were going for because it seemed very deliberate.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was spot on. It actually like I don't really get into documentaries that much, but this one actually held my attention all the way through. So bravo for that, man. It was really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of documentaries that have a lot of artifice in them, and I didn't want any reenactments. I didn't want any animation. I didn't want any narration. I didn't want you to even hear like me asking questions. And given the fact that I had 40 plus interviews, it was easy to not easy, but I sort of wanted everybody to sort of finish off each other's sentences and tell us the story with no frills, just sort of straight to the meat.
Yeah, man. Did you happen to get a chance to watch The Get Down yet?
The what?
The Get Down on Netflix?
Oh, not yet, no.
So, when I was watching Glory Days in the beginning, like it seemed to be going through that era of New York. Like probably just after the Get Down like film. So, like starting off in like the early 80s. And it almost seemed like that's where the Get Down could pick up because like I had just finished watching the Get Down, so it was really surreal to watch that and then get into your documentary where it's picking up right at around that same time period. So I thought that was really interesting too, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it seems like it's been long enough now that we can look back at that, the late 80s and 90s and so on with some degree of nostalgia. Because usually, about 20 years have to go by before it becomes cool again. Right. To sort of look at it. If it's 10 years, it's not cool. But 20 is always, it seems to come back, So, now I think it's the time to look at the 90s and with a bit of a look as, what the hell was that about? So I don't think that the era had been depicted yet in a film properly.
Right.
So I kind of took it upon myself. It took me 8 years, but, I'm pretty happy with the final result. And people are reacting pretty well to it, yeah.
And what was your motivation, I guess, because the 90s being, the era that you say you're very interested in, there are some stories that need to be told. What was your motivation for telling this specific story?
Well, yeah, I was there. I was at those parties,
right.
And so it got to a point where all of a sudden, when Giuliani came in and started cleaning up the city, and then after 9/11 happened, that was it. That was the end of it. And so I would have partied a little harder if I'd known it was going to disappear the last few days.
Yeah.
But, so I was always curious about that. And then with Michael, as an artist, as a storyteller, I've always had a very big interest in forgotten kings. Yeah. People that used to run stuff that sort of time sort of disregarded.
Right.
And there's always a story there, and it's a fascinating one. And so I knew that he was in prison, and so I basically sent out word to see, how about a bookend? Because it's a well-documented case, so how about a bookend of him coming out of prison and reintegrating back into society? I thought that would be interesting. And once he said yes, then we went up to the prison and started interviewing him, and everybody else sort of fell into place,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
What did you find, like, when you first met Michael Alig, what did you find to be the most surprising facet of his personality?
Well, I'll tell you, the fact that, if I went to prison for 17 years, I think I would probably be a different, like a harder version of myself. You know,
Right.
I think it would be a different. This guy is the same. He's dainty, same sense of humor. You know, is virtually unchanged. I'm not saying he didn't learn his lessons. You know, of course he's changed. 5 years in solitary confinement will change anybody.
Right.
But the fact that his personality and his delivery and the way that he is, and he was like, you know, he wanted to sit on people's laps while I was interviewing him. Like he's very, you know, that kind of guy. So he hasn't lost that, you know. So I thought that was very interesting. You know, I was expecting a little more of, you know, Warhol meets the Joker.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And he is that to a certain extent, but you know, he's a lot more softer and more approachable than I thought he would be. I know. I honestly thought I was going in to see Hannibal Lecter, and he's kind of not like that. You know?
Yeah, one of the most interesting parts of the documentary to me was, believe it or not, when they're like, him and James are standing out like by the river, and they're like, this looks like a good place to dump a body.
Right.
And like they're like laughing and ha-haing about it. And then later, like he actually reflects on that and he's like, oh, that's in poor taste. And, you know, well, I've said things that are in poor taste too. And then he starts like kind of pointing fingers and kind of blaming James for his comments. Do you feel like he is legitimately remorseful, or is he putting on an act?
That's a good question. See, and I leave that up to the audience. You know, I was very careful not to take a stand in this movie. Mm-hmm. That particular part of the film that you're talking about, they didn't know they were being filmed.
Okay.
And so that, when I ran across it, because I didn't know I had it, my DP told me, he said, look at this, there's something in there. And there's so much material that I was just, you know, cutting. And then I finally ran across it. And it stopped me for 2 weeks. You know, I had to put it down and sort of think, what do I do? Do I leave it in or should I not? You know, because I knew that he was probably going to be upset if I put it in there, which he was at first. Mm-hmm. But I had to maintain the integrity of the film, and that is part of the story. So yes, he does. I do believe that he's remorseful.
Okay.
To answer your question. But I also believe that he is very much the dark clown that's got to mess things up at the last minute.
Right.
He does have that element about him, you know, and there is that sort of, you know, it's kind of like Taxi Driver, you know, at the very end when the credits are about to roll and he gives that last look in the mirror where you think, you know that darkness is still inside him, you know, it's still there. I don't think it'll ever come out and hurt someone else again, you know. But I know that, you know, there is going to be that dark sense of humor in him that'll never leave him, you know. And especially when he gets together with James St. James, who eggs him on, and it all kind of, you know, it comes out when they're together, you know.
Nice. And that was it was really powerful because, like I said before, like you had this vibe going where you have like this string of people like that are like kind of all interlinked, and like the conversation's just one smooth conversation. Then all of a sudden it just cuts, and you have this scene with them just standing there just laughing and joking about killing somebody and where you dispose of the body. And it was like, it stood out so much. Yeah,
because and that's the thing. And listen, I when I shot this movie, before I shot a frame of it, I told Michael, I said that, you know, if I made this a fluff piece about, you know, poor Michael, give him another chance, he's done his time, they're going to crucify us both, you know. So I said, you know, we need to have haters in there. We need to have, you know, moments that are going to be uncomfortable. And that's the only way that this movie is going to get made, because it's the true story. Yeah. And so far, it's been actually well received. You know, the fact that I didn't cut corners and I didn't want to, you know, because your tendency, because you're hanging out with a guy, you know, your tendency is to want to soften it up and take his side and sort of, but you have to stay on course. You know, you have to stay on course no matter what happens, and that happened. So, you know, it's something that I had to do, and we had an argument about it, and he didn't talk to me for a while because of it. And it's understandable, but then with time, once he saw the film again and he understood what I was going after, and he accepted that is part of him. But on the other hand, he did mention it himself. I didn't bring it up. I didn't say, what the hell are you talking about? He's the one who said, this is not right that we're talking about this. And I've said things that are, out of line, in poor taste. That all came from him. So there it is. I set it up, but he didn't know that we had that footage.
Right.
When he apologized for it. So there's two sides to it. So I had to just put it all up and let the audience make up their own mind as to what they think.
I mean, I would just say, I also appreciate that, though, because when you're, as a filmmaker and as a director, it is your responsibility to just tell the story the way that it is and not cut corners. And some people will do that to be safe. But
right.
I feel like if you're not safe and you take risks, that's what's going to make this stand out. And it obviously has been well received. So, kudos for that.
And I think that's the kind of thing that'll give the film longevity.
Right.
That 5, 10, 20 years from now, you'll be able to still watch it and learn stuff. Because another thing is, this is a movie that, you're gonna be thrilled and you're gonna, but you're also gonna learn a lot. I call it edutainment.
Right.
You're gonna learn a lot of. It covers 30 years of New York City nightlife. And I really wanted to get into the detail and the nitty gritty of the sociological elements of what spawned this subculture, and especially seen, framed through his eyes. But yeah, that's really what I was after. Not just to tell a story, but, for the younger generation to sort of see how decadent the city was.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you edit this yourself?
Say what?
Did you do all the editing yourself?
Yeah. I
God bless you.
Thanks.
That must have taken you a long time.
Yeah, 10 months. 10 months.
Wow,
locked up in my living room, just ordering food. I didn't go to parties. I didn't go anywhere.
Just slowly slipping into insanity.
Yeah, it was like an Olympian training for the Olympics. Shit, man. So I'm sorry. I don't know if I can curse.
Yeah, you can curse, man. We are definitely adults only.
Okay, great. So yeah, it was that, and it honestly took me. When I started it, because it's my first time out, and I taught myself how to cut. And little by little, you start getting better at it. But then I was like, what have I done? Because I told everybody I don't want any assistance. I don't trust anybody but myself with my own footage. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to lock myself up and don't call me, don't do anything. And then, almost a year later, a movie came out. I typed the credits, everything that you see. I laid down all the music myself,
Awesome.
So it's crazy. But I'll tell you something else. In this day and age, I'm living Orson Welles' dream, Charlie Chaplin's dream, in the sense that I can just get up out of bed, go to my living room and cut. I don't have to go to a building. I don't have to go to a Moviola. I turn on my computer, it's on my TV, and we go. And I have 12-hour shifts, and that's it. And so you're dreaming about the cut when you're sleeping, and then you wake up and you cut, and you kind of start going mad, a little loopy, but it's kind of what it takes. Now, when I say that I'm living Orson Welles' dream, is not just that. It's the fact that, for example, if I need 1987 footage of crazy New York with the hookers and the graffiti, I go on YouTube. I find, an old video that a German guy shot on his vacation in 1987. I contact him via email. I ask him if I can get some of this from this second to this second to this second. He sent me 15 seconds of it via satellite. I PayPal him. I put it right into my film. I'll never meet him. He gets his credit. He gets paid. And it goes right into my movie. And it's original footage that nobody's ever seen in a movie. So those are the options that we have now. If I need an Andy Warhol photo, I'll find out who took it. I'll contact him from the comfort of my own bedroom. And you can do it, For a lot of the other photos, I had to travel, like to Canada, because one guy had, over 300 photos, and I had to sit down with him and go through them. But that's it. Other than that, you really don't need to leave the house to make a movie once you have your footage.
Right.
So helped out, and I'm very fortunate that we live in this era, because just 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to make this movie.
Right. And as far as getting into the party scene, I know that you'd mentioned you're definitely kind of living that life of that. that party phase. What made you get into kind of that scene? I mean, was it just something that happened slowly, or you just
I was a raver.
Well, oh, all right, okay, that pretty much sums it up.
Big,
there you go.
Huge pants, pants, 90 inches, the glow sticks. That was me.
Nice,
so,
nice.
I was exposed to that in college, which was a scene that was in a music that was still being invented at the time. It was brand new. Nobody knew what this stuff. People forget that you used to go to clubs and like they would play Bon Jovi and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's what people would dance to, And so electronic music was really like, for kind of like weird people. It was kind of like for freaks. Now it's the standard. But it was either soul and R&B or rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing else. So this was all brand new. So the rave scene, sort of like took me by storm. And then there's a moment, it's even in the picture where both scenes came together, because we were both into the same music, his scene, the gays and that whole thing, were into the same music as we were. So, we were sort of like the second tier, the kind of, there was an A crowd, a B crowd, a C crowd, and a D crowd. And they were first, and ravers came next. We never had to wait in line because we dressed a certain way. We brought a lot to the dance floor. We knew how to dance. We had the glow sticks, we had the liquid, we had the thing. And, so that all, it was a logical union to have. And so that's how I ended up in those scenes. And that's how I ended up, in New York City. With it was the super club era. So there were like 7, 8, 10 clubs that were, a city block.
Right.
Nobody can afford those rents anymore. That could never happen again.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that I caught the sort of the tail end of it. Once Twilo closed, that was it.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
So we like to do a little bit of research before we talk to somebody and all that. And the first thing that jumped out at me on IMDb is that your dad was a matador, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are the son of a bullfighter, right?
Imagine that.
What was that like, man? What was that like growing up?
Well, I'll tell you. Actually, he stopped fighting once I came around. I did see him once, and I was young, and he sort of did an exhibit to go back to his roots. My dad's Puerto Rican, so he's like the only Puerto Rican that's done it. In fact, that was his name, the Puerto Rican, el puertorriqueño. So I look like this, but I speak Castilian Spanish, and my mother's from Boston. So I did ask him once, he was about to go out, and I said, well, Dad, what if something happens, you haven't done it in a minute. It's like getting back in a boxing ring, after, like Foreman. He said, well, if something happens, then I die doing what I love doing. So, and that was pretty powerful for me. So he went off, and I witnessed
to live by.
it, and at least I got to see him do it a couple of times. So that's fun. But yeah, it's I guess not something that a lot of people can say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then coming over here, and when did you actually come back to the States?
I came to the States in 1990. I went to Massachusetts, did my last year of high school, did college in Rhode Island. Then I spent a semester in college. I went to London to study theater. Mm-hmm. I make my living as an actor, and then I went to Russia for another semester. I learned Russian, and that was quite an adventure. In '93, right after the wall came down, it was full of gangsters. It was a crazy time. And then in '94, when I graduated, I came straight to the city in New York and fell in love with it. And I spent 5 years on Wall Street and going to clubs at night. So I had a sort of a double life, suit and tie during the day and then absolute madness on the weekends. So it was a fun time. It was a fun period of time to be in the city.
Now, where did you said you went to college in Rhode Island. Where did you go?
I went to Roger Williams.
Oh, no way. Okay, yeah, I know exactly where that is. Yeah, no, I went to Rhode Island College. My wife went to URI, so I know, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah, we're out of Rhode Island.
Yeah, we're in Cranston right now. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. It's in Bristol.
Yeah, right.
So I spent 4 years there. I know it well.
Yeah,
nice.
Definitely.
Yes. Left a legacy there.
Yeah, exactly.
You spent some time on Sons of Anarchy. You were in an episode, right?
I got
how was
mauled
that?
by pit bulls. Yes.
Oh, nice.
I played Dante, and I was doing illegal pit bull fights, and I actually had to work with a live pit bull, which wasn't I was like, focus the camera because I don't get paid enough to do this. So you get it because we're going to do it once.
Right.
But no, the dog went very well, and I had a pillow in my lap, and she's, they let her go, and they said she's going to bite the pillow, just keep moving the pillow, or she's going to go for whatever moves. Don't get to hear that on a set every day, but it worked out, and the footage looks good. But yeah, they were a very professional bunch of guys. Yeah, it was fun. I make my living, actually 80% of what I do is playing heavies, what they call heavies, bad guys, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to play a cop, though.
I'm shooting right now something from Marvel.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, here we go.
He's like, I'm a huge, I don't know if you see the shirt, but I'm a huge Marvel fan. I was told I couldn't really talk to you about it, so I was kind of holding off, and I was just going to ask nonchalantly, but you brought it up, man, so what's up?
I can't really talk about it because I signed a non-disclosure agreement, how they are, and they have much better lawyers than I do. So
yeah.
Right.
But it's
they got those
it's
Disney
on Netflix,
lawyers,
and it's going to be 4 episodes for me, and it's a lot of kung fu.
Nice.
And it's a lot of training. So for those of you that are fans of that sort of thing, if you use your imagination and you know what's going on, you should know what I'm talking about. It's along the lines of the whole Jessica Jones Daredevil thing.
Nice.
So it's going to be great, and it looks amazing. We have a terrific cast. Rosario Dawson is in it.
Yeah.
Ramon Rodriguez is in it. There's a bunch of great people in it. So it's going to be great. And I just did the Blacklist.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I did the season premiere.
Nice.
We shot. It's funny because we shot Staten Island for Cuba.
Oh yeah,
It's funny. But it works. It looked great. Again, Cuban badass.
Yeah.
Someone has to do it. I'm just hoping to someday get the girl rather than kill the girl.
Right.
Yeah. So for now.
Well, you could always kidnap the girl.
Say what?
I said you could always kidnap the girl.
Exactly. Oh, I've done that. I've done plenty of those too. I've done all kinds of horrible things, but I've kidnapped babies. But it pays the bills, and so for now it is what it is. But that's the thing is also when you get typecast in the business, it's great, and I'm grateful that I'm an actor, for a living. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go behind the camera. And sort of have more power, be taken more seriously as an artist on my own right, and be a storyteller. And it's funny because we went to a festival in Wisconsin, and I told them that we had gotten distribution through Osiris, and they were very enthusiastic about the film. There was a local high school that they offered to watch. They'll play you any of the 100 movies that are in competition, and they chose Glory Days. And so they came in a yellow bus with the teachers, and I played them a matinee, and it was the highlight of the festival for me, really, that they would choose that. It shows me that we might have legs. If these kids in this little small town in Wisconsin want to see this, this movie might have something there. And they loved it. And then after, I was talking to the festival people, and I said that we had gotten distribution, and they all started high-fiving each other. And I said, well, what's the big deal? He said 1 out of 100 movies gets distribution. In other words, most people get stuck with the negative and just have to show their friends and put it on YouTube, Right. So I was like, if I knew that, I would have never made the movie. It's sort of like the naivete of the beginner. The reason why the Bambi walks up to the lion without, he doesn't know any better.
Right.
I would have, if I knew that those were the odds, I would have said it's a pipe dream. I would have convinced myself probably that it wasn't worth it.
Well, that's when you got to dig down and you got to reach back to what your dad said.
Say what?
That's when you got to reach back to what your dad said, man.
Exactly.
If you die, you die doing what you love.
Well, the other thing too, I think it's good that you kind of went in blind in a sense, because if you didn't, you probably would have never done it or done things very differently, which would have changed the outcome or the end result.
Completely. I would have never just forged ahead and said, I'm going to get an Oscar with this. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
On this road,
Right.
I would have never done that. And, and it was a process. I mean, a lot of crew got fired. A lot of people got replaced, because it's not simple. I was shooting everybody with 3 and 4 cameras. But eventually, when I gave it to my colorist, like I said, it took 10 months to cut this thing, and it's very layered. There's either photos, and nobody talks for more than 6 seconds, and there's a lot of stuff coming at you. You said most movies have about 1,200, 1,500 cuts. I had 3,000 plus, so the poor guy, earned every dime that he made, because I was just throwing everything in there, and I was basically making the movie that I would like to see,
right?
And hope that the audience agrees with me, and so far it seems like they are. So,
and that's what I wish more people would do.
Yeah, huh?
Like, I wish more people would do that, like make the movie that they want to see instead of what they think people want.
Right, and I'm fully aware that if this works and I do get a directing career out of it, which is sort of the point, I know this is the freest I'm ever going to be.
Right.
Because with money comes influence, and I probably won't have final cut, and I probably won't be able to sit in a room by myself and make a movie, out of nothing. Fuck it, you roll the dice,
Right.
Yeah.
It's your first time out, you might as well just go full on, and just make your own movie for you. The advantage of the other thing is that you're making a lot of money, while doing something that you love. But in this case, since there is no money and I'm doing everything myself, might as well, And some people complain about the length. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes.
It doesn't feel like it.
That I want to tell. And I think that there's so much coming at you that, by the time it runs long, I already got you, and it's just a matter of sticking with it till the end. But I wouldn't know where to cut at this point. I wouldn't know what to take out. I think that's really the story that I wanted to tell. And, so I just forged on with it. And if people want to take 2 days to watch it, that's fine, because there's 2 major parts to it. But that's the story I want to tell, and I'm sticking to it. I stand by every frame.
So I'm gonna flip the script on you for a second, but I know that you said originally you went to school for theater and
business. Yeah.
In business. Yeah. So did you? I guess what was your motivation to be an actor? Like, was it always a dream that you had, or was it just?
Yeah, that's actually something that I always had the dream of that. Again, my mother sort of was involved in the business behind the camera. She was a production secretary. She used to date Burt Reynolds back in the 60s.
All right.
So, I always grew up with photos all over the house of, being on set with so-and-so, and this is, Bob Mitchum and so on, So I always grew up with that, and I always had the love of it. I was the geeky kid that alphabetized his VHS tapes, Yeah. So, now I get to participate, and so it was great. But yeah, I always had that sort of performer thing. Maybe I get it from my dad. The need for the applause,
right?
There's something there to be said about that. Only I don't, risk my life every time I perform.
Right.
It's all fake. But yeah, I always had that in me, and so I studied business. My father worked for Merrill Lynch, and you sort of follow along the lines until eventually I worked 5 years on Wall Street, and then I just gave it up. And I, bartended for 10 years while I had the daytime free to go audition. You got to really chase after it. Mm-hmm. You can't just, everybody wants to break into the business, but it really has to be an obsession. Mm-hmm. And then with a little bit of luck, a little bit of good timing, you can do it.
Definitely.
Now,
I know that you said a little while ago you usually get typecast, which, hey, it pays the bills. But is there like a dream role for you that you want to play?
Oh, yeah. The insecure Woody Allen-y whiny guy that's talkative. That would be great.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm mostly playing human Terminators.
Right.
So the opposite with that. But that said, yesterday I just had an audition to play an astronaut.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Congratulations. Up and up. We'll see. Maybe someday I'll actually get to soften up a little bit, But right now it seems that it's the intense Latino, and that's fine. I've had a good career of it. I've worked with some really interesting people, and I have no regrets,
Nice. Is now as far as like directing, it seems like this is something that you were very passionate about on a larger scale, where something that you might have less control over, like you mentioned. What would be something you'd like to direct?
Well, as of right now, I'm actually writing. The whole point of this is a part of a master plan kind of thing. Like I said, you kind of got to be obsessed over it. So I first made a short, which was a sort of a neo-noir piece called Hot Tuesday, which is up on Vimeo. I'd love for you guys to check it out. It's sort of an homage to Tarantino's early work. I rhymed all the dialogue. I'm in it. And my good friend Tony Curran is in it, who's a great actor.
Nice.
We shot it on a diner on Route 66. It's got all the cliches in it. It's great. So check it out. It won Atlanta Shorts Fest. So that was my first sort of taste, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was the documentary, and so now it's going to be my first narrative piece, you know, and that's what I want to do next. So this is sort of a calling card, a business card, and I've already started writing the screenplay. I can't tell you anything about it, other than it's going to be along the lines of The Wrestler, you know.
Okay.
It's neo-realism, you know,
Okay.
in that sense. So we'll see. But right now, I'm very happy with the way it's coming out. So I can't wait to possibly announce it and shoot it next year. That would be great.
So when you shoot something like that, what do you use for camera equipment?
For my documentary.
For the documentary, or like if you like, I'm thinking like a
Well,
head,
the documentary, I got to tell you, that was basically whatever I had. Obviously, mostly 5Ds, 7Ds. That kind of thing. I'm a Nikon man. I have the D50-100, which is what I had. But the format of how I shot the documentary was I had Cam 1, which is your usual talking head, you know, which most documentaries just show that angle.
Right.
You know. Then I had on that same line somebody coming in and out doing that, who made a point or
I noticed that.
talk, and in and out of focus, you know, find your way and sort of like the camera's alive, let the camera breathe a little bit. And then I had Cam 3, which is ambulant. So I would say, get me the hands, get me his feet, get me a close-up of his eyeball, go up on the ladder and shoot from every question I would shoot him, you know, move him around. So it looks like you got 16 cameras going, you know. So between those two and then Cam 3, you always have something interesting, you know, to look at. Plus the black and white photos and, you know, all the video footage from back in the day. It makes for a very rich salad. You know, and since I knew I was going to run long, I'm feeding your eyeball constantly, you know. So if what you're talking about is fascinating and how you show it is fascinating too, those two you can't lose, you know. It's a fascinating story to listen. Even if you turn off the video, you can still listen to it. It would be a fascinating story. You know, so if you have a great story and then you can also, you know, show it in the most effective way, I think you have a very powerful piece. You know, and that was my philosophy on it. You know,
and it worked.
Thanks.
Yeah, it worked, man. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So we talked about what you got coming up next. We talked about
you know, right now I'm in New York City, waiting to shoot. We just did another episode last week. And so it's nice to get out of Los Angeles from time to time, you know, and sort of experience seasons and things like that. I lived here for many years, and so right now it's just nice to be able to be on the East Coast and work and chase after it. You know, Los Angeles is a pendulum. You know, sometimes it's very busy, sometimes it's not. So it's just very interesting to be able to I don't have a family, you know, I don't have a pet. So I'm able to just pack up and take off and go wherever the work is, you know. And so that's sort of the life of a performer. And, you know, now that the movie's out, it's, you know, once I saw it on Amazon, it was kind of like, you know, like hearing your song on the radio for the first time, you know.
Right.
You know, I'm in my carousel, you know, and it's like all the movies going by, and there's mine going by, you know. You know, so that's I'm still don't believe it. Like I'm still walking around going, I just became a filmmaker, you know. It's like it's finally out, and I'm still like trying to get into those shoes, and little by little I'll get more and more comfortable with that, you know. Just the fact that I'm talking to you two right now about this stuff, I'm like blown away, you know. That being interviewed not as an actor but as a filmmaker, it's wonderful. You know?
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys for doing this.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
absolutely,
thank
man.
you. You know, we appreciate it. This is awesome
My
stuff.
pleasure, and I'm glad that you like the movie and you know that you're promoting it for me. That's I couldn't ask for anything more, man.
Yeah, man,
No
we'll
worries,
definitely push it out
definitely.
there and get all of our wonderful listeners to partake in the joys of watching.
Oh,
this
that'd be
film, man.
great.
'Cause-
And next time I'm in my old stomping grounds, I'll stop by and pay you guys a visit. Maybe we could do a beer or five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
man,
that'd
let
be
us
awesome.
know. Let us know.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
I mean, you're close by now. I mean, we're heading out to New York soon, so
Are you? Well,
Yeah.
careful what you ask for, man. 'Cause you could take the party away, but you know, you can't take the party away.
right.
All right.
Dangerous
All right, man.
stuff. Right on.
Hey, thank you, man.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, and big up, and keep at it. And you guys are unsung heroes, man. Thank you so much. And anytime you guys want, I'll be available to you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate that.
We'll
You
probably
got it.
try to hit you up after you're done with that Iron Fist thing.
Yeah, after the Marvel stuff comes out, hit me up. We'll talk. We'll have a conversation about it.
All right, man.
All right.
Later.
Good.
Take it easy.
Late.
Yeah, guys, so that was our interview with Ramon Fernandez. We hope you guys enjoyed it. He is awesome, as you can see, and as you heard. So, make sure you guys check him out on IMDb. Check out Glory Days. You guys are really going to enjoy it.
It's available on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Available on Amazon. Also, as you heard, he has some Marvel things coming up, which, we really couldn't get into, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to kind of talk with him soon about that stuff. Just to kind of keep you guys updated on what we have going on, we do have another guest coming up. I don't have an exact date, but it's within the next month or so. We're going to have on Dolores Grant, who is a friend of mine, a teacher, also sister to Viola Davis, and has some really cool stuff to talk about. So we hope you guys will join us for that, and keep checking us out on Twitter, Facebook, social media world, and we will be at New York Comic Con on October 7th.
Yeah, and follow us, like us, subscribe on YouTube,
Share
all of
our
that
stuff.
Please do that, because whatever you do, it helps us out tremendously, and it gets us that much closer to getting those big interviews that are way more, interesting than just listening to us fucking blabber all day. Like people like Ramon Fernandez, for example, that we can actually sit down and have a chat with.
Hey, and we are very close to actually. I would say almost definitely looking to get an interview with Robin Lord Taylor from Gotham.
Yeah,
who plays the Penguin. So that's in the works now. So obviously we'll keep you guys posted on that. But I just have to second what Cooley said.
Word.
So we'll catch you guys next week.
Next week
on the Upside Down.
On the Upside Down.
Talk to you later, guys.
Peace.
Later.